What do you do when the person you trusted most disappears from your life without warning? Claire stood frozen in the doorway, the morning sunlight streaming across the small apartment, highlighting the stillness left behind by Vanessa's sudden departure. The scent of vanilla and lavender lingered faintly in the air, a memory of mornings spent together, breakfasts shared with laughter, and whispered dreams about the future. Now, all of it felt hollow, like a world that had lost its color. Her heart pounded, her chest felt tight, and she couldn't breathe normally. Vanessa had left quietly, without a fight, without an explanation. She didn't yell, didn't slam doors, didn't leave a note. Claire's mind raced, trying to make sense of it. Why now, after all these years, would she just walk away? Claire wandered through the apartment like a ghost, touching the things that once meant comfort, the coffee mugs on the counter, the framed photographs on the walls, the little trinkets they had collected on trips. Every corner, every object, screamed absence. She kept checking her phone, hoping for a message, a call, anything, but there was only silence. The emptiness pressed down on her chest, heavier with every passing minute. She wondered if she had failed Vanessa in some way, if there had been signs she had missed, moments that should have mattered more. As she sat down on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, her phone buzzed. She nearly dropped it. It was Evelyn, Vanessa's mother. Claire hesitated before answering. Her heart leapt with curiosity and dread. Why now? Why her mother? Evelyn's voice was calm but carried a weight of concern. Claire, she said softly, I know things are hard. I'm coming. I'll be there soon. Claire felt a strange mixture of relief and apprehension. She was relieved she wouldn't face this emptiness alone, but uneasy because she didn't know what to expect. Evelyn's presence promised support, but it also carried authority, judgment, and scrutiny. Can someone truly help you heal, or will they only remind you of your pain? Within hours, Evelyn arrived. She stepped into the apartment with quiet confidence, carrying a small suitcase and a presence that was both comforting and intimidating. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. She began organizing the apartment, cooking meals, and checking on Claire in a way that was almost maternal yet distant. There was an unspoken understanding between them. They were navigating a fragile situation, one built on loss, betrayal, and uncertainty. Claire appreciated the help but felt a growing tension. Evelyn's eyes, sharp and observing, missed nothing. Every glance seemed to assess not just the apartment but Claire herself, her emotions, her habits, her vulnerability. Days passed slowly. Claire tried to immerse herself in routines, but Vanessa's absence shadowed every moment. Even small tasks became monumental challenges. She found herself replaying memories, the day they moved in together, their first shared vacation, late-night conversations that once felt intimate and safe. Now, each memory brought a pang of sorrow. Evelyn remained quietly supportive, never overstepping, yet always present. Claire began to realize that her mother-in-law's help was more than practical. It was emotional scaffolding, a structure she could lean on while grappling with the void left behind. How do you confront heartbreak when every reminder is a knife to the heart? One morning, Claire received a package that had been left at her door. It was from Vanessa. Her hands trembled as she opened it, revealing a small collection of letters, carefully folded and addressed to her. Claire's eyes scanned the first letter. Vanessa wrote about regret, confusion, and the pressures that had driven her away. She apologized, yet her words hinted at more secrets that were unspoken, emotions that remained buried. Claire felt a mix of anger and longing. Anger at being abandoned, longing for the warmth of connection that seemed so impossible to reach now. The tension between relief, grief, and curiosity built inside Claire. Evelyn noticed the change in her demeanor and asked gently, "Do you want to read them?" Claire hesitated, knowing that reading Vanessa's words could either bring closure or shatter her further. Yet, she nodded. The letters revealed a Vanessa Claire barely recognized, a woman struggling with personal dilemmas, pressures from work, and family expectations that had weighed her down in silence. Claire realized that Vanessa's departure was not just a decision made in the moment but a culmination of months, perhaps years, of hidden struggles. What if the truth is more painful than the absence itself? While processing the letters, Claire began noticing subtle changes in her own reactions. She felt a strange mix of anger, sympathy, and longing. She realized she had loved Vanessa deeply, but her grief was complicated by the discovery that Vanessa's leaving had reasons she hadn't known. The letters painted a picture of conflict, confusion, and fear, emotions Claire had not been aware of. It became clear that this situation was not as simple as abandonment. There were layers of complexity, including outside influences, pressures from others, and internal battles Vanessa had fought alone. Late that evening, Claire lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Evelyn had gone to her own temporary room after dinner, but Claire couldn't sleep. Her mind replayed every moment of the past week. She thought of Vanessa, of Evelyn's arrival, of the letters, and of the strange silence that now filled the apartment. And then, as she drifted into a light, restless sleep, she heard a noise in the hallway. It was soft, deliberate, almost human, but not Evelyn. Claire's heart raced. She got up slowly, her bare feet brushing the cold floor, and tiptoed to the door. At the end of the hallway stood a shadowed figure, someone Claire had not seen in years, someone she thought was gone forever. Her breath caught, and she realized that her life, which already felt turned upside down, was about to shift again in ways she could not yet imagine. What do you do when someone from your past returns unexpectedly, shaking the foundations of your world? Claire stood frozen in the hallway, her eyes wide as the shadowed figure resolved into a familiar face. It was Daniel, Vanessa's childhood friend, someone she hadn't seen in years. His presence brought an unexpected tension into the apartment. She had not anticipated seeing him, not now, not after Vanessa had walked away. Claire's mind raced, her heart thudding in her chest. Daniel had always been kind, protective even, but his sudden arrival now carried a different weight. Questions surged through her. Why was he here? Was this visit casual, or had he come because of Vanessa? Can someone from the past change everything again? Daniel's expression was a mixture of concern and urgency. Claire, he said softly, I needed to see you. Things have changed, and I didn't know who else to turn to. Claire felt a surge of confusion. She wanted to ask him to explain, but the words caught in her throat. Her mind replayed all the recent turmoil, the emptiness Vanessa had left, the support Evelyn provided, the letters that revealed Vanessa's hidden struggles. Daniel's presence now added a new layer she hadn't anticipated. Over the next few hours, Daniel shared pieces of news Claire couldn't ignore. He spoke carefully, revealing that Vanessa's departure wasn't just a personal decision. External pressures had influenced her choices. Work conflicts, family expectations, and hidden threats had pushed her away silently. Claire listened, shocked, as Daniel explained that he had tried to intervene, to protect Vanessa in ways Claire never knew. His voice trembled with sincerity and guilt. He admitted he had watched from a distance, afraid that approaching her would only worsen her situation. How do you react when someone tells you truths you weren't ready to hear? Claire struggled to absorb everything. She felt anger bubbling inside, anger at Vanessa for leaving, at Daniel for not reaching out sooner, at herself for missing the signs. Yet, amid the anger, she also felt a strange relief. She finally understood that Vanessa's actions had reasons beyond rejection or betrayal. These revelations shifted Claire's perspective. She began to see Vanessa's departure in a more complex light, blending grief with empathy. But just as she started to process these emotions, Daniel revealed something more shocking, something that made Claire's heart skip a beat. Daniel admitted that Vanessa had confided in him before leaving, sharing fears and doubts that she hadn't expressed to Claire. He told her that Vanessa had planned to return eventually but feared the confrontation might be too much for both of them. Claire's mind whirled. The thought that Vanessa might have wanted to come back, yet couldn't, added another layer of pain and longing. She realized that their separation was not absolute, but a temporary pause filled with tension and uncertainty. When hope and heartbreak collide, which emotion dominates? As the day progressed, Daniel helped Claire reorganize the apartment. His presence was unexpectedly comforting, a reminder of the connections she had almost forgotten. They moved boxes, cleaned up, and shared meals quietly. Each moment brought small conversations, memories of the past, reflections on Vanessa, and cautious attempts at normalcy. Claire noticed subtle changes in herself. She felt her anger softening, replaced by a cautious curiosity and a glimmer of hope. Daniel's presence reminded her that she wasn't entirely alone in this complicated situation. However, peace was fleeting. That evening, Claire received another message from Vanessa, this time shorter, more urgent. The tone conveyed distress and a sense of urgency. Claire's heart sank as she read the words. Vanessa hinted at a situation that could threaten her well-being, something Claire wasn't prepared to handle alone. She looked at Daniel, whose expression mirrored her concern. There was no time to process the letters slowly, immediate action was needed. How far would you go for someone you still love, even after betrayal? Claire and Daniel quickly devised a plan to check on Vanessa. They decided to visit her apartment, hoping she would be safe and able to explain more in person. The drive there was tense. Claire's hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, knuckles white, her mind filled with worst-case scenarios. Daniel sat silently beside her, occasionally offering reassurances, his calm demeanor balancing her frantic thoughts. They were united in purpose, both aware that the situation could change everything. Again, upon arriving, they found the apartment door slightly ajar. Claire's heart raced as they entered, each step cautious. Inside, signs of disruption were evident, books scattered, cushions displaced, and a sense of hurried departure lingering in the air. They called out Vanessa's name, but there was no immediate response. Fear and anxiety gripped Claire as she realized that whatever Vanessa had been dealing with might have escalated beyond what she had imagined. Daniel tried to calm her, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder, but even he seemed uncertain. When the person you love is in danger, what would you risk to protect them? Suddenly, a soft noise came from the bedroom. Claire and Daniel exchanged tense glances. They approached slowly, and Claire peeked inside. There was Vanessa, sitting on the floor, her expression a mixture of exhaustion, fear, and relief. She looked up and her eyes met Claire's. No words were spoken immediately, the silence was heavy, charged with emotion. Claire felt tears prick her eyes. The sight of Vanessa alive, yet vulnerable, awakened a complex flood of emotions, love, relief, anger, and lingering hurt. Daniel gently explained to Vanessa that Claire was there for her, ready to support her through whatever challenges had driven her away. Vanessa's voice trembled as she began to recount her recent struggles, pressures at work, confrontations with family, and fears that she had carried silently for too long. Claire listened, her emotions a storm of compassion and heartbreak. She realized that Vanessa's departure was never about rejecting her love. It was about facing battles alone, battles Claire hadn't known existed. Can love survive when the truth is more complicated than betrayal? As night fell, the three of them sat together, a fragile alliance formed in the aftermath of chaos. Daniel remained quietly supportive, offering insights and practical solutions, while Claire and Vanessa navigated the tangled emotions of reconciliation and understanding. Though relief was present, uncertainty lingered. Claire understood that healing would take time and that trust, once broken, required patience, honesty, and courage to rebuild. Just as they began to feel a sense of cautious hope, the apartment phone rang. Claire answered, and the voice on the other end wasn't Vanessa's, nor Daniel's, nor anyone she expected. It was someone whose arrival would upend everything again, someone with knowledge that could change the path of their fragile recovery forever. What happens when someone from your past shows up, and the truth you've been avoiding comes crashing in? Claire's heart raced as she listened to the voice on the other end of the phone. It was a stranger, yet someone connected deeply to the tangled threads of her life with Vanessa. The words were cryptic but urgent. They hinted at information that could unravel everything she thought she knew about Vanessa's departure. Claire gripped the receiver tightly, her mind spinning. The sense of unease mixed with curiosity, as if she were standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to step forward or retreat. How much would you risk to uncover the truth? The next day, Claire and Daniel arranged to meet the mysterious caller at a nearby cafe. Daniel's calm presence was a grounding force for Claire, whose anxiety made her jittery and tense. As they waited, the cafe buzzed with normal activity, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in Claire's mind. She glanced around, imagining every patron could be the person with answers, every stranger a potential revelation. When the caller finally arrived, it was an older woman with sharp eyes and a deliberate demeanor. She introduced herself as Lydia, someone who had worked closely with Vanessa in the past, and who knew details that neither Claire nor Daniel were aware of. Would you be ready to face secrets that could shatter your heart? Lydia's revelation was immediate and shocking. She explained that Vanessa's departure had been influenced by a series of events Claire had never known: workplace pressure, family obligations, and unexpected threats from people who felt threatened by Vanessa's success. Claire felt a wave of emotions: anger, sadness, empathy, all colliding. She realized that Vanessa's absence wasn't a simple act of leaving, it was a desperate measure to protect herself and those she loved. Daniel squeezed her hand, silently reminding her that they were in this together. Can understanding the reasons behind betrayal ever make it easier to forgive? Over the following hours, Lydia detailed the specific events that had pushed Vanessa away. Claire listened intently, absorbing every word. There were instances of manipulation at work, conflicts with relatives who didn't approve of her marriage, and moments where Vanessa had felt isolated and helpless. Claire's heart ached as she pictured Vanessa facing these challenges alone, afraid to confide in her. Daniel shared insights as well, revealing the times he had tried to intervene or offer help from a distance, but had been rebuffed out of caution or fear. As the conversation deepened, Claire noticed subtle changes in herself. She had spent weeks feeling abandoned, hurt, and resentful. Now, understanding the context behind Vanessa's choices, she felt a new layer of empathy. The anger softened, replaced by concern and a desire to reconnect. Daniel noticed the shift as well, and he offered quiet encouragement. The atmosphere was tense but charged with the potential for reconciliation and understanding. What do you do when the person you've been waiting for may never come back? Later that evening, Claire and Daniel returned to Vanessa's apartment. They found it calm, almost eerily so, yet hints of distress remained: an overturned chair, scattered papers, a lingering sense of hurried departure. They called out for Vanessa, but she didn't respond immediately. Then, from the bedroom, came a faint sound, a soft, hesitant shuffle. Claire approached slowly, Daniel beside her, each step deliberate. When she peeked inside, she saw Vanessa seated on the bed, exhausted but alive, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and relief. Can love endure when one person hides the truth for protection? Vanessa's story poured out in fragments. She explained the pressures she had faced, the manipulations she had endured, and the constant fear of losing everything she valued. Claire listened without interruption, absorbing each word, realizing that the pain she had felt was only a part of the larger struggle Vanessa had silently endured. Daniel offered practical solutions and comfort, helping to diffuse the immediate tension. He suggested ways to address the issues Vanessa faced while ensuring her safety and emotional well-being. How do you rebuild trust when the foundation feels shaken? By the end of the night, Claire, Vanessa, and Daniel formed an uneasy but hopeful alliance. They shared meals, exchanged stories, and began to plan practical steps forward. Claire felt her heart softening, the desire to reconnect with Vanessa rekindling. Yet, the situation remained delicate. Each word, each gesture carried weight. One wrong step could undo the fragile trust being rebuilt. Claire realized that patience, empathy, and open communication would be essential in the days ahead. As the night deepened, an unexpected sound startled them, a knock at the door. Claire froze, heart pounding, as Vanessa hesitated. Who could it be at this hour? Daniel moved cautiously toward the door. When it opened, a figure emerged, someone neither Claire nor Vanessa expected, a colleague of Vanessa's, someone who had been part of the problems she had faced but had remained in the shadows. Their presence carried a silent warning: a reminder that the past was not yet fully resolved and that threats could reappear at any moment. The stranger spoke just a single line that sent shivers down Claire's spine. "I know what you're hiding, and it's not safe here anymore." Suddenly, everything they had been trying to rebuild felt under immediate threat, and Claire realized the journey to restore their lives was far from over. What happens when the shadows of the past return just as you begin to find hope? Claire felt a cold shiver run down her spine as the stranger's words echoed in the apartment. Daniel tightened his grip on her hand, sensing the sudden tension. Vanessa stood frozen, her eyes wide with fear and a hint of regret. The presence of this mysterious figure reminded them all that the struggles they thought were behind them were far from over. Claire's heart raced. She had been ready to rebuild, to forgive, and to reconnect, but the reality of unfinished conflicts loomed large. Could a single visit undo all the progress they had made? The stranger introduced himself as Marcus, someone who had once worked with Vanessa and had been involved in events that indirectly caused her sudden departure. Marcus's tone was calm but unnerving. He claimed to know secrets that could jeopardize both Vanessa's and Claire's lives if they were exposed. The air in the apartment felt thick and suffocating, charged with a sense of danger and urgency. Claire's mind raced as she tried to process the implications. How much of their lives was truly safe, and how much had been built on fragile pretenses? When trust is fragile, how do you decide who to believe? Claire, Vanessa, and Daniel gathered in the living room, forming a quiet, protective circle. Vanessa explained that Marcus's presence was tied to past threats, some of which she had managed to avoid by leaving suddenly months ago. Claire felt a pang of anger at the danger that had silently loomed over Vanessa, but she also understood the necessity of those choices. Daniel suggested they create a plan: first, understand what Marcus wanted, then secure their safety, and finally determine how to address lingering conflicts. Would facing the truth finally free them, or pull them deeper into chaos? Marcus revealed fragments of information, documents Vanessa had never shared, names of people involved in her professional and personal struggles, and warnings of others who were still interested in manipulating circumstances to their advantage. Claire realized that the path forward would require courage, patience, and careful negotiation. Vanessa's vulnerability became more apparent as she confessed her fear of confronting these issues directly, worried that past mistakes could ruin their attempts at a fresh start. Daniel remained steadfast, offering reassurance and practical guidance. Minnie Hook, can courage and love overcome the fear of the unknown? Over the next few hours, the three of them worked to piece together a timeline of events, uncovering patterns that had previously gone unnoticed. Claire's emotions fluctuated between anger at the injustices Vanessa had endured, empathy for her pain, and admiration for the strength Vanessa had shown in facing adversity alone. Daniel acted as the mediator, ensuring that their discussions remained focused and productive, even when the stress of the situation threatened to overwhelm them. Minnie Hook, how do you rebuild trust when the past refuses to stay buried? As night fell, Marcus offered a warning. There were still individuals who might take advantage of Vanessa's absence or Claire's vulnerability. This revelation reinforced the urgency of creating boundaries and establishing a protective environment. Claire felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She realized that rebuilding their lives would require not only emotional strength but also vigilance and strategy. Vanessa, though anxious, leaned on Claire and Daniel, understanding that she did not have to face her past alone anymore. Is it possible to move forward when the past is still breathing down your neck? In the following days, the trio implemented a careful plan. They contacted trusted friends and allies, secured sensitive documents, and avoided unnecessary exposure to potentially harmful people. Claire noticed subtle changes in Vanessa, moments of relaxation, brief smiles, and the willingness to share her thoughts and fears openly. The healing process had begun, albeit slowly and cautiously. Daniel's presence remained constant, a stabilizing force that helped them navigate each difficult step. When life tests you, do you rise together or fall apart? One evening, while reviewing some old correspondence related to Vanessa's departure, Claire stumbled upon a letter she hadn't seen before. Its contents revealed intentions and feelings that Vanessa had kept hidden, truths about her fears, her desire to protect Claire and Daniel, and her conflicting emotions about leaving. Claire felt a wave of understanding wash over her, a mix of heartbreak and relief. She realized that Vanessa's actions had never been about abandonment but about survival, love, and protection. Can understanding the full story heal the deepest wounds? As the story unfolded, Claire, Vanessa, and Daniel started making plans for the future. They discussed ways to restore normalcy to their lives while staying alert to lingering threats. The apartment, once a symbol of fear and uncertainty, began to feel like a place of safety and shared purpose. Small moments, cooking together, laughter over trivial mistakes, quiet late-night conversations signaled that the bonds between them were slowly, but surely, strengthening. Is peace ever truly possible after betrayal and fear? Then, an unexpected message arrived. It was from someone they had thought was neutral, but the tone was urgent and cryptic, hinting at an immediate danger that had nothing to do with Marcus. Claire's stomach tightened. Daniel's jaw set with determination. Vanessa's eyes widened with concern, yet she clutched Claire's hand tightly. They had navigated storms together, but this new message suggested that challenges were far from over. The message read only 3 words, but it hit them like a thunderclap: they're coming tonight. Suddenly, every step they had taken to rebuild their lives felt fragile, and the quiet hope they had nurtured was threatened once more, leaving Claire, Vanessa, and Daniel on edge and ready for whatever awaited them in the dark.